we saw the heavyweight, the former NFL lineman Greg Hardy, much maligned, back in the cage. Another pump-up opportunity, third from the top on the card. Going in there against Ben Sassoli, am I going to nail that correctly?
I think so.
A 3-round unanimous decision, later turned to a no contest when it was deemed that the inhaler Hardy used between rounds was not pre-approved by the Massachusetts State Athletic Commission. So, Chuck, we got issues here because once again, Greg Hardy,
he's like the
trying to do good, can't seem to figure out that I shouldn't knee a downed opponent. I shouldn't take medicine that's not pre-approved. Maybe I shouldn't throw a lady on a bed of firearms. I mean, there's some things in this man's embattled life that he just can't get right. I'm not expecting you to give me a long soliloquy about how this man's soul is dark and he needs to be removed from my TV screen for life. But what does this episode in the UFC run of Greg Hardy tell you about Greg Hardy, the person?
I don't get to do my soliloquy.
All right.
I was in the mirror all morning.
Wow. Hat on or off during that?
It's always off in the mirror. You know, truthfully, man, I feel like he's got that Husamar Paul Harris thing where you're almost wondering if he's connecting all the dots. You know what I mean?
If he just doesn't get it, or if there's
something like that.
He's a natural
but
heel.
It goes beyond that because I think even in like there's a tone deaf, and I know this extends to the UFC, but there's a tone deaf kind of thing going on. It's almost like defiance, but it's not quite. I don't think it
makes sense. Remember Andrew Galata in boxing?
Yeah,
it's like,
of course.
Stop punching the dude in the balls. Like just stop it. Stop looking for a way out. But Galata,
now it's a pattern, right? Like
for Galata, it was a pattern of maybe some fear, maybe some mental stuff going on. What do you think it is with Hardy? Just
this particular episode, it's a little baffling because why would you do that? Like it doesn't make any sense. So the down thing, like when that Crowder fight, wasn't it? When he got disqualified, that particular one, you're like, okay, this is a guy that they rushed onto a big stage who doesn't even understand the rules altogether. Like he seemed like he was genuinely puzzled, like when that happened, why he was in trouble. And this time, I felt like it's the same thing. So it's almost like I feel like he's not playing with the full deck, is what I'm trying to say. There's a disconnect there, and I feel like we're only at the beginning. If the UFC keeps putting him in these kind of spotlit gigs where he's fighting guys, you know, whoever it is, it doesn't matter if they're big name or not, but he's on these big spots on ESPN or whatever. I have a feeling we're going to keep talking about this because it feels like now bizarre things are going to happen whenever he fights.
I mean, I hope we're not getting in that Mike Tyson late career run where it's just you're tuning in for the zaniness. But look, Ben Sassoli was who he was. He had rocking a fantastic mullet. The Kombat
like that, huh?
Wombat. I don't know if he, I think the guy would drink out of a shoe regardless of a win or loss. But tell me if I'm wrong here, engaging where we are on the Greg Hardy train in terms of his evolution as a fighter. I felt like if there's 30 more seconds in that fight, that the damn Kombat Wombat seemed to figure out how to get to that chin, and maybe the gas tank was empty for Hardy. What did this performance tell you?
I mean, this one was, I thought, a setup for him to just showcase on, right? Like, I thought he was supposed to go in there and just slam dunk on this guy and get out of there, kind of like he did with Juan Adams, but that didn't happen, which then lends you to think, like, who is he prepared for? I wanted to see him against a guy like Todd Duffy or something like that, a guy who's not been around, but a name that he might be able to compete with in that situation. At this point, I'm not sure, man. I am not sure. I still think that the psychology behind booking Greg Hardy from the UFC's perspective should be to put doubt on it so that people tune in to see him get his ass kicked. Because right now, the guys they're putting in there are more tailored for him to do that. And that's not really what the public sentiment is on.
Well, what you're hitting is from the idea of marketing, booking. And when you're staying in that side, it looked like in the beginning, and we talked about this on the show with Luke in the past, where it's like we're frustrated that we don't know the direction they're going, or even Greg Hardy is going. Are you a hero or a villain?
Right.
Which one are you going? And at times he's yes, ma'am, and he's going in that direction. But now we have a calculated string here, not calculated, a random sort of string of somewhat heel-villain moments in terms of the marketing. So maybe you're right. Just embrace that side of it. Be that warrior prince, or prince of violence, or whatever the hell he's calling himself, and just be not remorseful.
If he's going to go banging his chest and saying, like, I'm going to be the greatest heavyweight combat sports athlete of all time, then you've got to start moving him up a little bit.
That's the next question. I'm getting a little bored at where we are now.
Yeah.
I get why he's ending up in the co-main and the third fight on the card, but if it's going to continue to be the evolution at this rate, which as a fighter he probably needs, I don't think it's must-see. I don't think it's got that. It's losing that appeal.
And it's almost like I think he's had 4 UFC fights, all within about a year span. He's making a ton of money compared to other heavyweights. It's almost like the deal was for if he's going to fight in the UFC, he was going to fight on these ESPN cards. He's going to, he's going to make the money, this amount of money in this amount of time. I mean, imagine how pissed off all those other heavyweights are, man.
I gotta believe that. And I know a lot of people are getting his side and saying, look, he thought it was clear beforehand. But anyone you're talking to, referees, Dana White, who's been in this game a while, are like, what the hell is that team thinking? Shades of Strikeforce Houston 2010. You remember that?
Right,
King Mo and KJ Newens with the little oxygen canisters there.